Okay. For about 3 weeks this summer, and we're still just finishing up, the whole country finally agreed on something. Together we screamed at the TV over soccer. Strangers hugged strangers in bars that had never seen that much unguarded affection outside of a wedding. Scotland, the Tartan army drank Boston dry. Then the final whistle blew. Scotland went home, and we went right back to arguing about everything. So this tells me something, though. We are very capable of unity. And I know that we are capable of unity beyond a soccer ball. I just know this. That might be the beginning. That might be the first seed that's planted. But we are capable of unity. Rumi wrote, "Out beyond the ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there." Possibly the most useful sentence we could be looking at right now, the most beautiful idea. He didn't say there's a soccer field, I'll meet you there, but there is a field, I'll meet you there. And he didn't say that you go once everyone agrees. You don't wait for agreement. He said, meet me there in the field. Meet me there, which by definition means you haven't resolved anything yet. You haven't resolved. We're still living in the discomfort and the disagreement. It's just that we stopped standing on separate sides of the road yelling at each other, right? We just stopped doing that so we could meet in that field. Thomas Merton, the wonderful mystic, said something that stops me every time I hear it. We are already one. We are already one. We're there. We are already one. We just imagine we're not. The entire spiritual life is coming to see about what's already true, not creating unity, uncovering it. Uncovering it. So my talk today is titled, Freedom, I Am Living Love. And I want to give you some context. Every week at the end of the service, we say this statement. I am at home in the heart of God. My life is anchored in truth. I can never be separate. I live in the consciousness of peace. I release all fear. I am living love. I am living love. So what does that really mean? You know, the power in the entire affirmation, and last week, we spoke about releasing fear. And so now we are moving into this idea of living love. And it's so powerful because it's not future-based. It's not aspirational. We don't say it with our fingers crossed, our breath held, or clutching our good luck charms in our hands. We say this in the present tense. It is a declaration of here and now. Here and now. And we say it not just an affirmation of purpose, but it is a declaration of truth, capital T truth, that recognizes who and what we are. It recognizes who and what we are. Beyond the fields of right and wrong, beyond our differences, beyond the conditions, beyond our fears, our disagreements, beyond all of our muffins, our bat wings, beyond all of that, it recognizes who we are as divine beings, whether we've known it or not, always or never. And if sometimes it'll feel like you've never heard these words. Maybe you've never heard them before and you're hearing it for the first time, or you've been here for years and years, and yet every time it is a reminder. Because you know, the spiritual journey, it is said, is one of remembering and forgetting. Remembering and forgetting. And we do this both from an inner level here at the soul level and also in the world, in our daily lives. We remember we are divine, we are one, we are divine, we are one. Oh, I forgot, you are such a jerk. Okay, you are, and then we come back. Oh, I remembered. Our teaching is a teaching of active participation, of self-commitment and healing. 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 I always remember hearing it described as a do-it-yourself religion. So years ago, I remember hearing these words spoken at a conference. This was probably 1985, 1986, and I've lived with them ever since. I'm hearing music. Okay, it's a phone. Everyone, God bless your phones. And here are the words. Everything in my life, I either create, promote, or allow. Everything in my life, I either create, promote, or allow. Breathe that in. It's not just about me. It's for you too. So breathe. Everything in your life, you either create, promote, or allow. This is good news, believe it or not. Now, it's not a statement of guilt or blame. I promise you. And if you have stuff going on in your life, which we all do, it's not a statement of condemnation or false responsibility or you did it wrong or what we used to hear in this teaching. What's in your consciousness? How did you create that? It's not that. It's absolutely not that. It's that everything in our lives, we become the space for it, whether it works for us or not. We become the space for it. So what do we want to become a space for? What do we want to become the fertile soil for? How do we want to create? How do we want to promote it or not? Allow it or not? Because we always have agency. We get to decide. So it's a statement of power. It's not a statement of guilt. And that power is innate to all of us because we are spiritual beings. So even if that power has yet to be invoked, cultivated, or even knowingly sourced for your life, it is still a statement of what's true. It is a statement of your authentic power and possibility. It is a statement of your divinity, okay? And that power is absolutely love. Now, love is brought forth in choice, in action, and conscious behavior. And we get to choose love every moment. Every moment. Even when there are distractions in the world, we get to choose love. We can choose love, we can choose separation, right? So I know that we're used to regarding love as a feeling, as an ushy feeling, and maybe just a movement within us and the people around us, but it's so much greater than that. You know, we talk a lot here about the energy of God, the energy of presence, the energy of life, and all of that is just one thing. It is the activity of love. It's the activity of love. And so we are here to have a greater idea, not just of what love is, but of who we are as beings who are sourced from love. So this idea of I am living love isn't a feeling that we're waiting around to have. It's a decision about which law we're going to practice. So are we going to practice a law of separation or a law of oneness? Because whatever we choose to practice, our life will show up as that. We will show up as separate, disconnected, judgy, and I'm really good at judgy. Or we can show up in one, in harmony and compassion and love, and have this bigger space, because boy, do we need a bigger space for love and compassion these days, right? So now, Ernest Holmes taught that love isn't sentiment. It's not that ushy, I don't even know if ushy is a word. It's the fundamental nature of reality expressing itself, whether we're feeling warm and fuzzy about it or not. It is love. And the freedom part, because it's July, so it's all about freedom, is not that it's freedom from people who disagree with you. That's not what this is about. That's another, I have healthy boundaries. You disagree with me? Fine, that's okay. It's a different idea of freedom. Freedom is the quality that sources everything else, that we are created in and from this universal impulsion of limitless creative possibility. We come from infinite. We come from infinity. We come from that. We are that. So when we say created in the image and likeness of God, our spirit, it doesn't mean that we're just God adjacent or conveniently located near spirit. That is not what it means. It means that we are God in expression. We are God wearing a body, right? We are God wearing a body. We have the full capacity to reveal wholeness on every level. And yet, if we've never heard that before, there is a divine remembering that begins to happen that says, oh, okay, this is new. I'm coming home to a home I've not known before. This is new. So there's a freedom that is inherent in realizing who and what we are as spiritual beings. You know, it's the prodigal son's epiphany. He came to himself. He came to himself. He came home to himself. We are seeking to reveal our true nature so that we can come to ourselves, come home to ourselves, our true divine selves. That's why we are here. We are here to come to ourselves. Now, there are things that can get in the way of this coming home, this coming to ourselves. And some of the things that can get in the way, well, it can be the judgment, it can be that separation, living from a sense of separation. You know, we all know people who have a black belt in being right. You know, I planned this outfit a week ago, before I even put the talk together. Okay, fine. It took decades of training, by the way. Okay, fine. I can build an entire legal case for why I'm right about something. And it can be something nobody even asked me about, right? Somebody mentions the weather and I've got a rebuttal ready. The problem, though, is that being right and being loving are sometimes, it's like they're both trying to get the same parking spot at Trader Joe's, right? And only one is going to get it. Only one's going to get it. Now, for most of us, it can be much more satisfying in the moment to go for that being right, let being right park in that spot, you know, and without even considering if love needed that spot more, right? It's an interesting thing that we do. And there's a payoff. There can be a payoff from it. You know, being right can feel in the moment and can feel like you're right. I should tell my husband not to listen to this part. In fact, there's a joke about that. If a tree falls in the forest and no one is there to hear it, is the husband still wrong? Yes. Now, I can stand up here and tell you that Rumi's field, where we're all supposed to meet in the middle, is real, and that Merton's idea of we're already one. You know, I can talk about that, and you're all going to like come away with a sense of, oh, you know, a loosened chest. That, you know, you're going to feel relaxed, and you're going to leave here. Yet, if I don't go deeper into that, it's entirely possible that you're going to pull out of that parking lot. Somebody's going to cut you off, and you're going to be done with it. It will have evaporated before you even get to Victory Boulevard. So, I would like us to do some deeper work on this area, or at least have something more, because it's not a failure of our teaching that the good happiness fuzzy feelings can disappear. It's not the failure. It's just that what happens when transformation stays at the level of inspiration. Transformation needs to go beyond inspiration. Inspiration can lead to self-improvement. We want to go beyond that. We want transformation. Pretty words and good feelings are real and they matter, but they're not enough. So transformation asks for something with more traction than just a good feeling on a Sunday. It asks for practice. It asks for commitment. Transformation demands deeper work. And I know that we want lives that feel better than just for an hour or two on a Sunday, and maybe if you come back on Wednesday or watch it online on Wednesday. I know that you'd rather not have these mountains and valleys. You'd like to have more of a consistent sense of knowing who you are and that you are fully sourced and connected to wholeness. Am I right? Yeah. Okay, good. So this transformation demands that we go well beyond believing that there's a field. We have to go beyond that. If we want real transformation, we have to build a road to it. We have to build a road to what transformation is and then commit to actually living there. So, you know, there's a difference between being involved. Many of us are involved, and many of us are committed. It's the difference between eggs and bacon. The chicken was involved, the pig was committed. Never a drummer when you need one. So I recently began working with a field of study called quantum living, and you'll be hearing more about this. The quantum living idea encompasses 4 movements. It's waking up, showing up, cleaning up, and growing up. I know, it's work, right? Would you please lock those doors? People are going to be out of here. Waking up, showing up, cleaning up, growing up. Okay. Waking up is bigger than the, oh, I could have had a V8 moment. We're a spiritual center. So let's talk about waking up the way we actually mean it, which is that aha, spiritual awakening. Oh my God, I realize I am more, there is more. I am connected to something greater. That's the awakening that we're talking about. And for some of us, it can happen moment by moment by moment. Sometimes it doesn't happen that way. It can be a different epiphany altogether. It can be that spiritual 2x4 upside the head. I don't know what it is for you, but it is that thing of waking up and staying awake. It's about waking up. The instant you realize you are connected to and sourced from something so much greater than the appearances around you, the appearances we see on the news or on Facebook or on CNN or any of that, the moment you realize that you are committed, that you are created and connected to something so much greater than that, that you are greater than that even that argument that you are in the middle of having right now, right? It's spiritual awakening. Spiritual awakening. And I got to tell you, this country, this world is hungry for awakening. We are hungry for deeper. We have had it with the superficial, this is pretty and it feels good stuff. We are hungry for a deeper awakening. And I really believe that what we are seeing, the stuff that is, we like to say it's all coming to the light, right? It's coming to the light. There's a lot of stuff that's coming to the light, and it ain't pretty, folks. But if we are to really, really live lives, transformed lives, we have to allow that stuff that we don't like is going to come up to the light, to be revealed and to be healed, to be transformed, to be changed, to be shifted, to be let go of. It's exactly what Adam's song is talking about. That we are here to reveal that love, to live as that love, but there's going to be work to do. There's a quote that's attributed to Anne Frank, and actually there's a lot of doubt about whether or not she said it, but the quote is, "One candle can defy and define the darkness. One light can defy and define the darkness." So if we are to defy and define that darkness, we must shine that light. We already are that light. We already are one with and one of a bigger presence and power. We are that. And we must be aware that in order for that light to shine, there must be darkness. There's going to be darkness. Yin and yang, there's going to be darkness. Now, we don't have to live in that, but we need to recognize that we have a role to play here. That we are here as the light, to be the light, to remember the light, to live as that light, and to remind each other how wonderful and divine we are. So we wake up to our divinity, we wake up to our worth, we wake up to our potential and power, and it calls us into a different way of being. And it's hard to practice this idea of I am living love from a self that still believes that it's small, it's threatened, it's alone, it doesn't have enough. This big idea here is that if we are connected to something greater, that we are sourced from the infinite itself, that means there's enough. So if we're not experiencing enough, then we go back to that idea. Everything in my life, I either create, promote, or allow. So am I creating an environment of not enough? Am I believing there isn't enough, and therefore I'm living according to it? Am I promoting a life of not enough? Wow, time to change that. Am I allowing a belief of not enough? Yeah, time to shift that. Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Good, okay. Waking up is the divine remembering that you were never a small self to begin with, and you aren't now. So we start from waking up. And then we have number 2, showing up. Now that comes directly out of awakening. So we wake up and we show up. First, we show up in availability and the willingness to be connected, to actually be in spiritual community, right? Not just live or circle the neighborhood. That we're actually in community. It's where oneness stops being a nice idea, a really good thing to talk about, and starts being an actual practice. Love is a practice. With actual people on actual days, on actual difficult days. Second, when we show up, it means, and this one's easy to miss because it's so much more fun to have a spiritual bypass on this one. Showing up means you're showing up for yourself. that you are being present to what is going on with you, what is seeking to emerge, that there's a restlessness, a divine discontent that's wanting to be, there's something there. There's something. What is going on here? And maybe it shows up for you as a restlessness. Maybe it shows up in you as frustration. Maybe it shows up for you as the distraction of addiction. It may show up in a variety of ways, but there's something else that is trying to come through. There is something else that wants to be born. So we need to be present to what's wanting to emerge and how we can midwife that thing to come forth and to be born. Because something in each of us is wanting to grow, it's seeking to become more, and it's something that is needing to be in the world. It's something that the world needs us to give voice to. If you've got that desire, if you've got that dream, I tell you, the world needs it. And they need it the way you bring it. Only you bring it. They need you. We need you. We need you, your spiritual gifts. So showing up means that we don't abandon ourselves. We don't abandon the discomfort or the restlessness. We stay present to ourselves and our inspirations so that we can let that new life, that new idea, that new creation come forth. Birth is messy. We stay present anyway. Waking up, showing up, cleaning up. Oh man, we so don't want to clean up. I have a laundry chair in our bedroom. I'm just saying. Cleaning up is the unpacking of the ideas and beliefs that might be hiding, that got there in our childhood, somehow in our upbringing, our education, our unconscious acceptance, or for settling for less than who or what we are. So we are cleaning up. It's what we do in our classes. It's what we do in our workshops. It's what we do when we come here. It's what we do with prayer partners. It's what we do with practitioners. It's so that we can do the deeper work. Some of us call it doing shadow work, because we are looking at that which seems to be hiding in the shadows, yet somehow informing us, somehow creating perceptions in us, somehow filtering that which we are seeing, doing, or knowing. Does that make sense? So cleaning up means we lovingly begin acknowledging, oh boy, the resentments we've been nursing like a garden. Many of us have the old grudge. We keep watering because some part of us likes the harvest. There's energy that comes forth, right? There's adrenaline. And there's a payoff for being right or energizing ourselves in and from that piss-offedness. Yes, if we really, really want to live love instead of just admire it from a distance, just talk about it, we have to be willing to clean up the internal stuff, the judgments, the grievances, the stories, the filters. How about the stories where we are always the hero and someone else is always the villain? It's uncomfortable work. It's uncomfortable work, but it's also the only work that actually changes anything. Because here's the thing. When we stop looking for the villain, stop looking for the criminal, stop looking for the perpetrator, like who did this to me, who did this to me, who did this to you, we free ourselves from being a victim. That's when we live in that field of enough. That's when we live in that field of peace, because we no longer need a criminal to define us. We don't need the darkness to define us. We actually get to step out of that behavior, out of that perception, and become free. So growing up is the last one. We've got waking up, showing up, cleaning up, and growing up. That's where we get intentional. That's where the real good fun work begins. Because we start to direct the spiritual power that has not only created us, but is trying to burst forth and wants to create through us. So we become that active, committed channel. We become that place. Growing up means we make the choice, sometimes moment by moment, to live in spiritual maturity. Growing up means intention and taking responsibility instead of staying that reactive, well, they made me do it. They just made me do it version of ourselves. How come you always make me feel this way? How come I always feel, why do you do this to me? Oh my God, it's the most boring conversation that can happen, at least in our house. I'm busting us all over the place, aren't I, Charlie? We are a lot healthier than that. This is mostly humor, mostly. No, growing up means understanding that this idea of I am living love is not something that happens to you when the conditions are nice, not just in really good weather. It's a choice. Growing up is the choice to generate on purpose as a spiritual adult, regardless of whether or not the Dodgers decide to visit the White House, okay? So we are waking up, we are showing up, cleaning up, and growing up. That's the road to Rumi's field. It's not just a feeling, it's a practice. It's a practice. So I've got assignments for you. I've got one assignment. It's your spiritual soul work. It's very specific. I want you to pick one person this week. That's it, just one. Not a whole organization, just one person. Because we're going to start and we're going to build some strength. We're going to build muscle. Here's the thing about, I was thinking about this the other day, that when we are building muscle, it's all about resistance work, right? Spiritual muscle is not resistance work. Spiritual muscle is about allowance work. So we are going to allow the love that we are to begin to come forth and to inform us, first of all, about who we are, and then as we move into the world, to remember who all of those others are, who the theys are. So pick one person, someone who you feel is making living love genuinely hard. Not an easy person. Pick a hard one. And practice unconditional regard. Now, did I say unconditional love? I did not. We're going to start small. We're going to start small. Practice unconditional regard. Just allow. It's that allowance and acceptance. Well, that's just who they are. That's just who they are. Oh, I want to change them. I want to change. No, that's just who they are. Practice unconditional regard. You don't have to practice agreement. Not even necessarily kindness in the moment, because sometimes that's not safe or appropriate. Just regard, a refusal to make them the villain in your internal courtroom. Step off the bench, Judge, Your Honor. They are not the villain. Just give them regard. And by the way, here's the thing. When you bless someone or something from a distance, it still qualifies you as living love. And it absolutely gets you all of the karma points. You still get them. You do. And you get extra credit for the willingness. So, I mean, you're good. Just the willingness to do that, you get karma. You get good karma. So you're creating all of this good stuff. So today, we will finish the service as we always do after the peace song. We're going to say our affirmative statement. And I'm going to know that each of us is going to remember and take in this idea of I am living love. That it doesn't mean the kind of love that waits for agreement, but the love that is your true nature, and that it is, you're giving it permission and acknowledgement and space to express itself regardless of the weather, regardless of Mitch McConnell, the traffic on the 405, or even the Dodgers going to the White House. It's regardless of all of that. I invite all of us to come into an awareness and a commitment to being able to say, I am living love. Let's pray. Thank you. All right. So we turn within once again, knowing that we come from an infinite source that is love itself, limitless in its scope, and that we are infinite in our potential to express that, to be that, to know that, to live that, and to experience that. For we acknowledge that there is one power, one presence, and it is God, it is love, it is life, it is spirit, it is that infinite mind, that intelligence that has brought us here specifically at this time, in this space, in this place, so that we might do light, so that we might be light, so that we might remember from the great collective remembering that we are love. And it is in that remembering that we know for ourselves and for each other that we also know that we are fully blessed. That we are fully blessed in every area, and truly, truly there is enough For we are enough, God is enough, love is enough, and we remember that and we let everything else just simply fade away in the light of love. We are blessed by this. I know that this church is a blessing. It is a blessing for all people. As we step into the world, we are a blessing for all people. So we bless this place. We bless this church. We bless all churches, all paths to God, all mosques, all temples, all ashrams, all synagogues, all cathedrals. Wherever people gather, we know that the light indeed does shine brighter. And yes, it does defy and define the darkness, for it is light, and nothing and no one can stand in the way of that light, including us. So with a sense of deep gratitude, knowing, and acceptance, I simply release this word into the activity of the law, spiritual law, knowing it is already so. Together we say, and so it is, amen.